Welcome everyone to Clean Call for October 1st. I can't believe it's October already. And I think most of us know each other, but just for the record and for setting our norms, and since it's a smaller group, let's go around and just do a quick introduction. And with that, you can say maybe who you are, where you work, or what you do quickly, and then something that you're excited about fall. And if you have an announcement, you can add that on as well. So 3 prompts and a 4th one if you have an announcement. Carolyn, do you want to start?
Sure. Carolyn Burns, she, her. I work for a nonprofit based in Florida called the CLEAN Institute in the Tallahassee office. No, no real major announcements. I'll be perfectly honest. As we move deeper into fall, I'm really excited for the end of hurricane season. We had a real near miss last week and got very lucky, but I don't know how long I want to keep sort of pushing that streak of not getting hit by major storms. So I'll be glad when it's declared over.
It was a big one for a lot of people too, so I'm glad you managed to not get hit too bad. How about you, Rachel? Did you fare okay?
Yeah, we did fine. One thing, so I'll just introduce myself, I guess, Rachel Wellman. I'm at FAU Pine Dog Environmental Education Center as a program coordinator, leading Climate Ready and a couple other programs. We got a new program actually coming up called Florida Land of Water, so very excited about that one. But in terms of the hurricane, there was one thing that really stood out to me about this one, and we're on the East Coast and the South, and we got bands, of this one, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Of course, there were gusts, and we're used to this stuff. Thankfully, we didn't need head-on hit or anything like that. But the thing that really stuck out to me was in the beginning. I don't remember feeling this or thinking this in any other hurricane, and I've been through a lot through my years of being down here and actually being in the Carolinas too. When it started to come in, that there were huge gusts. It was very, very windy. But normally when you feel wind, especially down here, it's like a cool breeze coming from the ocean. These gusts were hot. I mean, very uncomfortably hot. And I don't ever remember feeling that. I was walking my dog, and FAU closed down their campuses on Thursday. And so I was at home with my husband and my dogs, and we were walking them, and it was just the weirdest feeling. So I certainly wonder what that was all about, And I'm looking forward to the end of it as well. In fact, my vacation this year is coming up towards the end of the season, so I'm crossing my fingers that I won't be affected during vacation. But yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Rachel. Wendy, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Wendy Johnson from the National Center for Science Education. I'm a science education specialist there. Our group, I'm actually not going, but I think it's in 3 weeks, is doing a professional development workshop with, is it Sea Grant? Now I'm getting them confused with this other one we're doing, My Coast. So they're like at the Merrick's research. So there's been some talk about whether like, how hard was that area hit? We're not exactly sure. And then also like teachers are coming from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Carolinas. So like, will they be able to come? So that was just our discussion yesterday about like, I don't know, where does everyone stand? We're kind of debating like sending something out to participants and kind of getting a feel. And yeah, it was interesting because we started with like, whoa, we need to ramp up the climate anxiety section and move that to the beginning and like really talk more about, just get a feel for what people recently experienced and not kind of just jump to like, let's go out on the water. And like, because there's like a component where they go out and then there's like classroom learning about climate as well. So very like real world, practical considerations for all of this climate and hurricane season.
Thanks for sharing, Wendy. Yeah, it's interesting. Hurricanes are especially, like, as many topics, interesting to think about in regards to climate change, because it's like they still exist without climate change, but that whole like extra fueling and how much does that affect some of these storms on an individual basis is, obviously a topic of research and conversation. Anyways, I'm Katie Boyd. I am the CLEAN Program Manager and based at Ceres Center for Education, Engagement and Evaluation. And I am, so program manager, and I also do some educational research and evaluation on some of our other projects as well. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I do have an announcement. We have an exciting webinar coming up on October 10th. This is Cultivating Hope and Resilience in the Face of Climate Change, and geared towards like educators and thinking about kind of supporting them in terms of dealing with these issues in their students. But we have this Dr. Maria Ojala, I think. She's from Sweden, I think. She's going to be talking about her research on hope in youth around climate change, and thinking about it as sort of like agency work. So I'm really excited to hear from her and thinking about this and that sort of research level of like, what is she finding around youth, students, and hopefulness with regards to climate change. So join us if you can for that. And we have, let's see, my thing about fall I'm excited about. I always love when the leaves change. We just went up this past weekend and saw the aspens are starting to go. We of course had a storm last week. I know that a lot of them fell off the trees, I think, before they were really ready to fully turn, but there was some really pretty yellows up there in the mountains, so that was nice to get to go and see those. And that's been fun. Try to do that every year when we can, so it's that time of year. With that, I will turn it over. I definitely can think of some things that we could talk about, but we didn't have anything specifically in mind. Like I said, we were trying to get some folks that might be able to come up with topics they'd be interested in talking about. So I just wanted to actually throw it out there and see if there's anything on anybody's mind that you wanted to talk about today. Give my teacher pause here. So I think, there's some current events happening. The obviously the literacy principles are a big thing. Someone mentioned though that NAAE is supposed to put out their new climate change guidelines too, and I still haven't seen those. Has anybody heard anything about that? So that's a possible topic, and then you can answer the question. There's also though, COP is coming up. I don't know if there's any interest in kind of diving into some of that, or I know there's been a lot of work recently around similar to what I was just talking about with our webinar, like hopefulness and agency with students. That's been a big topic. So that was another thing that I thought could be of interest here. Does anyone, before we go on, does anyone know about the NAAE guidelines at all?
No, when someone mentioned that last week, I went to the website and just looked to see, but I didn't see anything.
I didn't.
I believe we have somewhat, was it Martha Monroe? You know what, that was something else I went to. I'm pretty sure it's the the guidelines that, if you know the name Martha Monroe, she's down at University of Florida. And I believe even Jen was a part of that, if I'm not mistaken, from the Wild Center and a few others. I
think
did,
Jen was.
I did see a,
I think Frank might have been too.
yeah, I think so. I saw a talk a few months ago, where, you know, it's pretty extensive and looking at climate change education. So looking forward to it. Let me see, I'll see if I can find anything from that talk that might could help. Do you have anything, Carolyn? Do you remember?
I mean, basically all the stuff that I'm thinking of is really only relevant sort of within within Florida. I have been thinking a lot about, again, about hurricane impacts. I'm thinking about a lot in terms of the upcoming election and, you know, sort of the impact on folks who, you know, might have a vote by mail ballot sent to a house that no longer exists, and sort of the impact on, yeah, on like participation in democracy, if that's something, I don't know, it's not really something that I've been thinking of before in terms of climate and making that more difficult, but that's come up as a bit of a discussion topic in my circles lately.
That's interesting too, because I think about it not just in terms of like fleeing natural disasters like that and evacuation and all that, but just in general thinking about like climate refugeeism, right? Like in this idea of like people having to move from areas and then, you know, emigrate or you know, to other places completely too. Like that's another idea as well, as like, can you participate in democracy, like when, you know, especially like just thinking about some of the people who come from Central and South America, for example, to the US, and like maybe they're undocumented or they're trying to make their way through the immigration system or whatever it is, and then like, you know, they're not really having a say in the political process that affects them where they're living now. They obviously aren't participating where they used to live. Or even if it's not just immigration, like, yeah, just people moving from different parts of the country or whatever, like that, this idea of like that, you know, climate is affecting people's like movement, and how does that impact their ability to participate in the system? That's an interesting thought for sure.
I just put some stuff in the chat. If you remember Scott Lewis, he's been a regular recently of the CLEAN Teleconferences. He started this FCAN. I'm thinking it's Florida Climate Educators Network.
Oh, cool.
And we've been communicating and collaborating actually on a couple of things together. So each month he sets up a speaker that comes in and talks about climate change education in Florida or beyond Florida. And this was one that he hosted. It was very good, from Martha Monroe. She's been in this realm for a long time. So I highly recommend watching that presentation. And you should be able to have access to it through that link that I shared.
Thanks. That's awesome. Appreciate that. Something else popped in my head too. Speaking of which, I didn't know, that's so cool, Rachel. There's a Florida Climate Educators Network, because we have like in Colorado, we have like, you know, the STEM education like ecosystem group. We have like the Colorado Science Educators Network. Like we have all these like science education networks, but nothing specific to climate. So that's really cool. I know like the Mid-Atlantic coast, you know, that group, that MECHI Mid-Atlantic, no, Climate Change Educators Network, something like that. They're a group too that's like more specific climate education, regionally speaking. And I know like Climate Generation, like they kind of host a more regional network of folks in like Minnesota, Wisconsin. So I think there are these regional networks out there, but that's cool that you guys have like a specifically like named, and like, is it through similar to this? Are there meetings or is it an email list or?
Yeah, I was just trying to find it because Scott actually was with Pine Dog at one time, many, many years ago. And then he's done other things with FAU, and he's a consultant. So I'm trying to find, I helped him build a website through Google Sites. I'm trying to find it. As soon as I do, I will send it to you. But we are on a listserv through Google Groups, and he, like I said, he has talks. One of them was, I'm looking at one now, John Morales. He's a hurricane specialist for Channel 6 in Miami here. And he's actually a member of CLEO Institute's board of directors, and he did a talk one time as well. So yeah, let me see if I can find that website, and I can give you a little more information on FCEN.
That gets me to an interesting question that kind of popped into my head. Is like, what other networks are out there? Like, what other networks are you all a part of beyond CLEAN? Because I know there's a bunch, and that's what was cool about a paper I wrote recently, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah,
I'm on the board for the League of Environmental Educators of Florida. And we're part of a broader network called the Southeastern Environmental Education Alliance. And I have to bump Gina again because they just did something, it was called the Landscape Analysis for Environmental Education in the Southeast. And they have a whole section that is geared toward climate education. I'm hosting or facilitating or whatever it is, one of these meetings in the upcoming weeks. So I would love to have her come and talk a little bit about that.
that's cool.
Sorry, that one of the people who works on it, she's from the Kentucky, I think it's Kentucky Environmental Education Alliance. But yeah, she was the person who at a recent leadership clinic sort of presented on that landscape analysis.
Yeah, I definitely like LEAF. I've actually been a lifetime member of LEAF for a long time. LEEF, League of Environmental Educators in Florida. And it's actually, aren't they associated with NAE in some way?
Yeah, so NAAW is the
Isn't it a
national
subsidiary?
Yeah, and then we're one of the state level organizations.
Yeah.
Kind of like sorry if I'm using a bunch of jargon for non-Floridians, but kind of like FAST is the state one for NSTA
Mhm.
and their affiliate, but SEEA-SEA is just 8 states in the Southeast, and it's kind of like a regional group.
State affiliate for NAAE. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're both of them are under the NAAA umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have that too with the Colorado Association for Environmental Educators, CAEE. And yeah, I think they do have some climate change focus too. But I think also sometimes that group, at least here, focuses a lot on like outdoor education, and they do influence for folks who do formal education too. But I just know that sometimes people in our network we have a lot of informal educators too. I'm not saying we don't, but we also have that kind of focus on K through 12, which some of the environmental education groups, I think, a little bit less focus on that. Still very relevant though.
Is starting a subject to climate hub. So that's been like a way that's brought together a lot of people from the environmental groups. And then we have a lot of state initiatives with the Great Lakes and like environmental protection that all have like some overlap to climate change, but similar. We haven't had like a climate change group in Michigan until this subject to climate hub has tried to like bring people together to make a Michigan hub. So I'm excited about that.
That's cool. Yeah, I've done that in a couple of states. I didn't know they were doing a Michigan one. That's cool.
Yeah, like hopefully kind of some type of initial launch like next year. But they're, looking for funding and partners. It's been interesting though, because like most of what I do is more like science education.
Mhm.
And a lot of science educators are like very passionate about climate change, but they view it as too niche. And I'm kind of struggling with that. Like I actually brought subject to climate to my state work group that is in charge of professional development for teachers. And I was like, hey, like they're making this hub, but they also have done professional development, like helping teachers make place-based climate lessons for their state. And again, I was kind of like surprised because I know all of the members of my group are really interested in climate change, but they were sort of like, that's too niche for like the state to sponsor. Um, so I feel like I need to do a better job of like why climate change is the issue that like brings so many things together and how like I can't think of anything in science education that's more important right now.
I know, right? And that's what's so interesting about it is it's such a, because it ties into so many different like Earth systems, that it actually like, I mean, you can use climate change as a backdrop for teaching about life science and physical science and, like so many sciences, like, so it's interesting that like, yeah, a lot of people are kind of like like you're saying, Wendy, seeing it as like a narrow view instead of that like broader view where it can actually tie into so many other sciences too,
Yeah.
Carolyn, I wanted to say thank you for bringing up the climate resources with through LEAF. I didn't realize that. I just found a link. I posted it there in our chat. There's a climate education resources page, and it was through a Noah B. Wet 2-year funding opportunity through Florida Gulf Coast University. So it's pretty interesting. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, unfortunately, this started a little bit before I got involved. I was like, "Ugh, I would like that would have been perfect. Um, but we are, yeah, we're working on a bunch of new stuff, so that's exciting.
That's cool. It's interesting to see like how how those things group. A lot of times it's state, but then there's some of those areas where it's like, yeah, more that regional, like you were saying, Carolyn, like the Southeast or the Mid-Atlantic, or like some of these places that kind of group multiple states together too. And sometimes they have the climate like that, what you posted, Rachel, that's really cool. They have like that they got a grant and were able to kind of like bring climate change more specifically, coming up with like resources, and then sometimes people are like developing curriculum, but then sometimes it's more just like, oh, we're doing a workshop, and or there's some places that want to like partner, like you were saying, Wendy, with the like subject to climate, some of those hubs are more of just like the partnerships and trying to like put resource collections together. There was a group in California that we're working with. It's actually through a science museum out there, but they're trying to put a page together for especially elementary level, but I think all levels, but really like focusing a lot on the elementary level, thinking that there's less out there for elementary teachers to do climate change. So, but they were trying to like put a resource collection together for teachers in their area, and got connected with us. And I was like, please, like, do not just build CLEAN, like, like we have that, send them to CLEAN, but like build your site that you like can host certain, like specific activities that are more regionally specific to your area, and then like people can search through CLEAN. But like it's so hard to build something, like a resource collection like CLEAN. So that's where it's like cool when you can do those partnerships like that, like with like subject to climate. That's where it's like, oh, the statewide people, but also then some of the people who can actually host the hub, like OER Commons. We've been also talking to them about like how we can host more like regional they call it hubs too, but like it's not like the state hubs, like subject to climate is doing. So I know they're doing also working with teachers and trying to have teachers develop curriculum specific to those areas. But we've been talking about OER about just hosting like sort of regionally specific collections, basically, of resources, climate resources, from their other catalogs, but from CLEAN as well. And so yeah, that idea of like being able to put that out there for folks.
I just again waiting on actual publication of the paper, but project where we basically did directly work with and subsidize teachers to, you know, sort of do the curriculum development, but then, you know, have it be, you know, every step of the way, okay, this is what we have, where do you see pain points, is this addressing what you want to be addressed, and all of that for curriculum, because I feel like, you know, as for classroom teachers, there is sort of a lot of that, okay, well, you know, now we need this practice that we've always done, now we need to call it something else, or now we need to log it and make sure that we're, you know, proving that we're doing our job. And, you know, having I think it's really important in education for teachers to have more of that, you know, more of that input, you know, and develop their own skills, and also to, you know, respect their autonomy as professionals, which unfortunately, you know, is a big struggle in education right now on sort of upholding these, you know, upholding standards, not like education standards, but like the more general use of the word standards, but making sure that again, things are, you know, they're respected as professionals. I think that's really cool.
That is cool.
You know,
Yeah,
you
and it's
see-
really cool when you can engage in some of that, because I know to some extent sometimes places will engage teachers in like curriculum development, but it's like oh, write something over the summer, and then like, but a lot of like what curriculum developers in our group do is like that deep work of like, yeah, testing it in different classrooms with different teachers, and like developing it, you know, getting scientists or experts like to like review it as well and make sure like the content works well and things like that. So like that's really cool when you can work with teachers but still also do that like deeper work on curriculum development. This is really cool, this landscape analysis. The map didn't work for me that you linked to, Rachel, but I was just pulling up some of the reports. Like,
Let me get to the home page. You can scroll down on the home page, and if you scroll down to where it's like on the left third block, providers for climate equity and education. Now that you're back, I don't know if I asked you or should I ask Gina, but like I said, I would love to have one of the folks who will put this together come in and present when I'm facilitating in a few weeks.
yeah, I can't actually see the map. That's the thing that's like not pulling up for me. It just says item does not exist or is inaccessible. But you know
So
what? Sometimes Google
go to the
Chrome.
second link. Go to the second link I posted, and then
Okay.
scroll down to the third row, and you can click. When I say click map, it still pops up that same link in the URL.
Yeah, so that's when I went to there too. When you said that EE providers and then view the map, I still get the same error message. But I'm gonna try it on Firefox because sometimes Chrome is weird. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh yes, this item does not exist or is inaccessible. I don't know why that is on Firefox too, but I pulled up the report, or no, what was it? Not the report,
is
from the
climate-
dashboard. And so you can filter through here too, which is cool. So it's not the map, but you can still
Now
get the
it's
same
not-
information.
Yeah, so this is what it's landscape analysis, and then climate equity and education map, and now it's not working for me either. So I don't know if
Yeah,
y'all
that's
broke.
what I've been getting. It might be just broken at the moment then.
Yeah,
That's cool though. This reminds me of
this is
what
where
we
it
tried to
normally
do.
works.
Yeah. I'll look at it. I'm sure it'll come back in like an hour. I'll look at it, but this reminds me of what we tried to do in CLEAN, and we actually did it a couple of years ago. I don't know if any of you took the survey for it, but we did the social network analysis, and it's kind of similar where we were trying to like, yeah, get a sense of like climate, the field, and like who's connected to who and all that. And actually I'm literally doing the proofs this week in the paper. We'll get published after that, so I'll share it with the network, and maybe I'll do a presentation on it. But we wrote a paper about that, the results from that survey. I did an initial look at the results in a CLEAN call like 2 years ago, but I should do it again because we've kind of like, changed how we were sort of interpreting it through the whole like review process on the paper and stuff. So we're about to publish that. So that's actually good for good incentive or whatever trigger for me to like bring it up again with and present about it. But it's just that idea of like I was saying before, there's these regional networks and like everybody's connected in different ways, and like CLEAN's a nice overarching kind of national one. This is cool though, because this is like regional. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up that map. And the Colorado, I told you it's a science education network, but the Colorado STEM, let's see if I can pull it up, STEM ecosystem. They do something similar. And they use the similar analysis that we did, the social network analysis. And I don't know. Oh, here's the network visualization. Oh, you have to be a member to look at the, oh, no, it's right there. There it is. Okay. You should be able to see it. So it's not like a map in the sense of like a regional like map, like you were saying, but it's a social network analysis map. So there's, this like, there's the regional, like the colors sort of say like where people are in the state, but then like all the, I think there's also legends. I think you can change things based on like if it's like formal and informal, the agriculture, business industry, coalition alliance, government policymaker, medical healthcare, informal education. So yeah, it's kind of a cool visualization using that social network analysis where it's like there's all these, you can see it's so dense, all the lines like, and that's like all the connections through the state. So I love these kinds of analyses. So yeah, I'm definitely going to try and pull up that map later because that's really cool. And it'd be great. We would love, I'm sure Dina would love to help you talk about CLEAN or present or whatever for that organization. Carolyn, is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah. Like I said, there's someone from Kentucky who helped put it together, and they gave a presentation. So I want to invite her to talk about it with them. What the process was like.
Cool. Oh, invite her to CLEAN. Oh, that'd be great. Yes, I love that. I don't think we have a lot of presentations set up for fall yet because Gina and I both got a little bit busy with trying to recruit folks. So yes, I think we have space. Should be awesome. And I should talk to Gina about, talk about mine too. And yeah, awesome. Okay, so we at least have a couple of thoughts on presentations for the next months. That's great. Well, Wendy, I know stepped away, but I also don't mind if we need to. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Just that I think it would be neat for Scott to talk about what he's accomplished with FCAN down here. It's pretty
That'd be
interesting
awesome.
stuff. And looking into Heather's work over at the Gulf Coast. Carolyn, are you in contact with Heather? You know what I'm talking about?
Heather
Acosta?
Yes. Yeah, no, she's
really
a big part of she's a big part of LEAF as well. We connected at the last conference back in March.
Yeah, I was reading about, kind of going down a rabbit hole with this conversation. I was reading about what she's doing with LEAF and climate change education, and it'd be really interesting to hear from her too, and the things that she's pulling together from a more traditional academics standpoint.
And I've been working with, it's tentative going forward, where we're working on a grant proposal right now, but I've been working with a professor at FSU who her research is on climate education, particularly looking in rural areas, like up here in rural parts of North Florida. As
Awesome.
you know, things can be a bit more difficult in.
Oh yeah, that's a totally different beast. So is it the same professor? Is it Acosta that you're working with, or no?
Actually, Amal Ebork. She's at the College of Education at FSU, and that's the project I was
Oh,
talking
Florida State. Yes. Okay.
about, the paper that we just got accepted. She was primary author, obviously, but we worked on that together.
Cool. Looking forward to hear more about that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely ask her about that. And yeah, like I said, we're working on sort of our next research project and putting that together for probably for 2025.
Yeah, Carolyn, do you mind sending Gina an email and connecting? And then Rachel, would you mind connecting Scott and or Heather, whoever you think might be good for that conversation with Gina too? She'll be out this week, but she's back next week, so it's not a rush, but I think it'd be great. Yeah, these would be really cool ideas for being call conversations. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, compliments to throw in there? All the C words.
Well, I should actually get back to some tasks, so I think I'm gonna hop off.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
was
the
gonna say,
conversation.
Yeah, if we end early today, I'm not opposed to it either. I have another meeting after this that I could prep for, so.
My brain's just been all over the place for the past week or so.
Yeah, I never mind getting some time back in our schedule since it's a smaller group today. I think maybe a good idea to try to end a little early here. So, well, it's nice to see you both. I'll send Wendy a message and an email that we jumped off, and she will be
Awesome. And yeah, I don't know if it's not, I don't know if you're happy about it enough for me to say like congrats or welcome back at the very least. And I'm glad things have been going well for your little family. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I'm 6 months in, and it feels like I just came back and I'm already back at work for 2 months now. I'm like, I don't know where time is going. So I do appreciate that, because my brain is still in like, yeah, I just had a baby and like just coming back to work. So thank you.
and I hope that your house does not become ground zero for whatever's coming next.
Yes, and I also hope for the safety of both of you. I hope hurricane season is lighter on the load for the next month here. So, hey Wendy, we're just gonna end early so we have a little bit of time back since it's a smaller group today. So,
All right. It was good talking with you all.
good to see you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, and stay safe. Bye.